So that damn phone is killing your motivation. Have you realized how you can't even sit for 2 full hours and work on a serious task without feeling the need to pick up your phone and check social media? Most people can't even go for 10 minutes. Our brains have literally been hijacked by our cell phones. But in this video, I'm going to be sharing the science behind social media detox so that you can escape that trap. Let's jump straight to my presentation. So as you can see here, our brains have literally been hijacked by social media. And if you're a student, you'll probably relate to this. You're coming back from campus, you're coming back from school, and you're like, let me just put in 2 hours and study. But once you open your books, you feel so tired, you feel so bored, you feel like, no, I'm so sleepy. Let me go to sleep. I'll wake up tomorrow and start studying then. But you get into your bed, you find yourself scrolling on social media for 2, 3, 4 hours until it's the AMs, it's 2, 3 a.m. and you're like, I could have used all this time studying, but I spent it scrolling on social media. But when I tried studying, I felt so sleepy, I felt so tired. It's your brain basically playing games on you. Why? Because it has been hijacked by social media. So let's speak about this. So social media is exactly the same as cocaine. So when studies were done on the brain, they found that cocaine, the effect of cocaine on the brain, it increases your dopamine levels. For those that don't know what dopamine is, so dopamine is basically that hormone in your brain that increases your happiness levels, right? So when dopamine increases, your happiness levels also increase. So cocaine has that effect. But when studies were also done on social media, it was found that social media has the same effect. It increases the dopamine effects in your brain. So social media and cocaine, same thing, right? They lead to overstimulation of the brain and motivation to do the random boring stuffs like studying, the serious things, studying, working, building that website, starting that business. They start to feel so hard because your brain is overstimulated. I'm going to show you a graph. You see here is a graph that was published by the University of Pennsylvania Health System, basically showing what happens in the brain of someone who's addicted to something. Let me interrupt the video for a few seconds and share 2 quick points. First one is, I've realized that most people who watch this channel are not yet subscribed. So if that's you, make sure that you click that subscribe button, you turn on the notification bell. Secondly, I have a free WhatsApp community called the Top Achiever Circle. So if you're interested in moving from being an average student to being a top performing student, make sure that you go to the link in the description and join my free WhatsApp community called the Top Achiever Circle. Hope to see you there. Cheers. Yeah. So it's very important to understand what happens to your brain when you're addicted to something. So we all have dopamine levels in our brain, right? And if you are a normal person, you're not addicted to anything, normal dopamine levels are at this level. But what happens is whenever you experience something that gives you that spark, that hit in dopamine, here they compared it to someone who engages in sexual activities and gets an orgasm, right? When you get an orgasm, it increases to a certain point and then it returns back to normal. They found that the dopamine level goes back to normal after getting that spike, right? And you can basically move along with your life because you're back to your normal dopamine level, meaning that you have same motivation to do tasks. You have most of the things that you can basically go on with your life without being addicted to something, without heavily chasing. But they compared it to dopamine levels of someone who's addicted to social media in this case, that your dopamine level is always high, right? Because you're addicted, you're always feeding it, right? And when you feed it for the first time, when you take that first hit, your dopamine level spikes, and after that first high, it declines to 0. And once it's at 0, it's below normal. You start to feel some type of way. So in the article, they refer to it as quicksand, meaning that when you at that point, you at 0, meaning that you're at risk of your motivation, your happiness dropping below 0, and you feel like something bad is gonna happen. That's why people who are addicted to drugs, they always feel like they have to get that hit, because if they don't, they feel like something bad is gonna happen to them. So people who are addicted to social media, they have the fear of missing out. Even though you don't need to check your phone, even though you're not expecting to hear from anyone, even though there's nothing specific you're expecting to see in your phone, but you have that fear of missing out because you feel like you always have to be tapped in, you always have to be be on social media, LinkedIn, seeing what's happening around you, but it's just you feeling that addiction because you in the quicksand now. Your dopamine level are at zero and you're always trying to hike them up back to normal, back to that high that you had, right? And any activity that doesn't feed that dopamine level, you're studying, you're starting your business, you basically don't have motivation to do it. You do it for 10 minutes, you're like, oh, let me go pick up my phone, so that you feed yourself. So how do we rewire our brain, right? So step number 1 is to have a detox. So detox is basically you resetting your brain cells. You're thinking of it from a point of drugs. They take someone to rehab because they're saying we want you to not be exposed to that drug, right? So that it can rewire your system. You don't have to go back to it every time. Same thing happens if you want to rewire your brain so that you stop being a social media addict. What you need to do is you need to go on a detox. And by detox, I mean that you basically cut off your phone for quite some time, right? You can set a goal for yourself and say, I'm not gonna use my phone or touch it for a week. But we're living in 2024, obviously you might need your phone for some things, right? So to challenge yourself, you can only do it for a day and be like, for today I'm gonna lock my phone somewhere else, I'm gonna put it in a wardrobe, switch it off, and not pick it up for the entire day. And I'm gonna see through the boredom, I'm gonna see through studying, even though I'm not that productive because my brain is still rewiring. But you're basically going through that detox so that you can rewire your brain cells not to always fall into that loop of picking up your phone. But that's not gonna be the end of it, because once you go back, you've rewired your brain now to a certain extent. Once you go back, you must replace dopamine with certain important tasks. Actually, you must do this while you're still on a detox, right? When you feel like you're bored, do 50 push-ups. When you feel like you're bored, go for a walk. When you feel like you're bored, just replace it with other activities that feed your dopamine but are not as easier as social media or your phone, right? Like taking a walk. You need to stand up and take a walk, maybe change. Doing push-ups is challenging, but after doing it, your dopamine level will definitely increase. Not to the same extent as when you're using your phone, but at least you're rewiring your brain to know that, okay, cool, whenever I'm bored, I can do this. But it's gonna take time. That's why step number 3 is having the intentional use of your phone. So back when I was in school, sometimes I'll delete all the social media apps from Monday to Friday. And what that does is your productivity level will skyrocket, because whenever you're bored, you know you don't have WhatsApp on your phone, you know you don't have TikTok, so you can't go anywhere. So you might as well sit through the boredom and figure out whatever you're doing. That's a game changer to increase your productivity level, because once you say, even though I'm bored, I'm gonna sit through it, and you don't have WhatsApp on your phone, even if you pick it up, you're not gonna scroll endlessly, because you pick it up, you only see your gallery, and then that's bored, you know it, and then you just put your phone away and continue working. So I want you to try this, especially leading up to exam season. I want you to go on a social media detox for the entire exam season and see how your productivity level skyrockets, because your mind will rewind and be like, okay, cool, I don't have that heat to run to every time I feel like a certain problem is challenging, every time I feel like this studying thing is boring. So your motivation level will skyrocket. So have an intentional use of the social media apps. So like I said, you can delete your social media apps for Monday to Friday so that you can increase your productivity level and ensure that you get work done. Or you can put your phone on focus mode. But what I found is, even if your phone is on focus mode, you can still open it and scroll endless on social media. But how this helps is when you're hearing those sound, those notifications, right? You're studying and you hear a notification, your mind is automatically bound to pick up the phone and check who that is, because it can't remember. I said you have that fear of missing out. What if it's someone important? What if it's that guy I texted and I'm waiting to hear whether they like me or not? You get what I'm saying? So your brain will always want to pick up and check. Even if you try to constrain yourself, you're not going to be focused on your books, but you'll be focused on that phone. So make sure that you turn on focus mode most of the times, and you keep your phone out of your study space. I always say this: when I'm working and I feel like my phone is distracting me, if I'm working in my room, I'm going to put it in the kitchen and work over here, right? If I stand up and go take it, I'm not serious at all. Or I can put the phone in my room and go work in the living room and be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna work there and my phone is far from me. And that will help you eliminate distractions. So that's how you basically rewire your brain. You go on a social media detox for some time so that you force your brain to rewire and look for new ways to find or to activate dopamine. And then you replace screen time with healthy rewards like going for a walk, doing push-ups, exercising, doing all those kind of things. And number 3, you have an intentional use of social media. So you delete all your social media apps, you ensure that your phone is always on focus mode, and you also keep your phone out of your study space, and that's how you rewire your brain. And like and subscribe if you're new to the community. Make sure that you drop a like, and let's get this video to 1k likes. And if you'd like to join my free community of students whereby I share study tips, study hacks to move from being an average student to a top performing student, make sure that you go to the link in the description.